get to a hydrogen economy, we need a lot of electrolyzers. That's what we've been hearing the past 2 days. But electrolyzing, that is old school. We have to use membranes. They are a much faster way to get to the hydrogen future, especially when we talk about green shipping. At least that is what Mohit Jain is going to explain to us. Mohit, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. You have a revolutionary new idea of how to do not electrolyzing, but getting to green hydrogen. Tell us how to do it.
So, thank you. So, I am Mohit Jain from Fraunhofer Institute in Germany, and we are expertise in ceramic technologies and systems. So I'm going to talk about our hydrogen generation technology using membrane reactors, which is very useful for offshore shipping. So basically, we have two technologies. One of them deals with electrolyzers, and the second one, what we are doing is using methanol reforming. And I would talk 80% of it is regarding methanol reforming, because you might have already heard a lot about electrolyzers and all. And going deep into it, why do we need to make the shipping industry green? Because it's a very fast-growing source of greenhouse gases, and the technology of generating green hydrogen on ships, it's not very safe because we have pressurized hydrogen tanks, and there's definitely big safety concerns there. So what I present, our technology doesn't require hydrogen tanks, which are huge in size, and it's much safer when it comes to that. And in addition to that, we generate no emissions because we have just water as the byproduct. So here you see in our technology, so top middle, if you look at methanol production, that's done onshore. And then we have methanol in liquid form in tanks. And then we load on these tanks onto our ships, where we do our magic with the membrane reactors. So we convert methanol into CO2 and hydrogen. And here, if you see the blue line, which is going in the other direction, that's like we are feeding hydrogen to the engine of the ship, and it uses hydrogen as well as diesel for propulsion. And then we have remaining CO2, which we liquefy, and we store in the same tanks that we brought the methanol in, because we are emptying the tanks, and then we are filling it back with liquid CO2, and then we can load them off on shore when the ship goes back to harbor or, moving on. So what technology exactly we are working with? So we use carbon membranes. And here in this graphic on the top right, you see the red area that you see is the catalytic part of our membrane, and the green part you see is the actual membrane, which helps us in separating the two gases, CO2 and hydrogen. And like I said, hydrogen we put directly into the engine, and CO2 we liquefy that. And yeah, we obtain a purity of hydrogen more than 90%. The max we got was like 95%. And here a picture from our carbon membranes. It's like a module that we use in one of our reactors. And what interesting fact is, we are reducing the greenhouse gas emissions by 97%. We are eliminating the sulfur oxide and particulate matter emissions, as well as 80% reduction in NOx. And overall, compared to the other CO2 capture technologies that are available right now in the market, which are pre-combustion or post-combustion, we are having a 45% increase in the efficiency compared to state-of-the-art technologies. And yeah, now coming on to the heart of our system, the membrane reactor. First of all, very basic chemistry. Methanol has twice the energy density when it comes to hydrogen atoms. So we need the size of our storage tanks should be half, which is also where we are saving a bit of space. And it can be transported safely. And it is not as corrosive in nature when it comes to ammonia, for example, which is also considered as an alternative nowadays to generate hydrogen. And CO2 we liquefy and store in the tanks. Here on the picture on the right, top left is our membrane reactor. We feed it with methanol, and then we get water vapor from the system, and then hydrogen generated is directly sent to the engine for propulsion. And we also have a very good heat recovery unit, which is combining the heat generated by our engine as well as the membrane reactor. And what special part about our engine was, which was developed by the collaborators in TU Graz in Austria. It was a dual fuel engine, and which combined diesel as well as hydrogen as the propulsion source. Moving on, here are a few pictures. So the reactor design and the actual construction of the reactors was done by a collaborator of ours, MUV, which is a German company. And the picture on the right are the actual reactors. Here you see 2 pellets, which are 1.2 by 1.2 in size, and the height is probably around 1 meter. And we had 5 of these pellets, in total 20 reactors, which we got onto the ship, generating a 650 kilowatt engine output power. Moving on, the membranes probably you already saw in the picture that I showed a couple of slides before, and the reactor design, as said earlier, it's completely done in-house in collaboration with MUW. So a bit of, again, basic chemistry, but what is the advantage? Why do we do it? Okay, I mentioned previously it's safe and easier to transport methanol, but the main reason for using a membrane reactor is we are doing a separation process within our own reactor. That's our biggest plus point. We are saving our cost for downstream processing, which from petrochem industry, if you know, it's a very huge energy-intensive and cost-intensive process. So in turn, we obtain a very purified hydrogen. Secondly, moving on to the equilibrium state of a reaction, so we are removing one product by separating it within the membrane itself. And then it moves our equilibrium in the forward direction. So within the same amount of reactants, we are obtaining more products. And we obtained here conversion, as you can see on the graph on the right, more than 95%. And the 3 different color orientations. So the green one was done in-house in our lab. And the middle one was a small-scale prototype. And the last one, G66MR, were the pictures that you saw from the reactors on the slide before. So they were a bit less because we had some heat transfer issues, but we know how to overcome them. And the graph on the right, it's from literature, very interesting. So the curves that are going down, these are basically the equilibrium and the conventional technologies to reform methanol. And the ones which are going horizontal, you see these are the advantages of using a membrane reactor. So the conversion for a conventional reaction, it goes down when we increase the pressure, but it doesn't go the same way when we are dealing with membrane reactors. So that's another advantage. Now coming on to the small part of our research group at Fraunhofer IKTS, we also do water electrolysis, particularly alkaline water electrolysis and SOECs. My personal work is going to be shared right now, so I'm not completely involved in electrolyzers, but for the catalyst development and all. So here you can see a few of our catalysts that I personally researched and synthesized, and also I'm trying to use non-noble metals. So these are layered double hydroxide, and nickel being very prominent contender for water electrolysis or alkaline water electrolysis. So I'm trying to figure out different combinations of metals along with that. Here are a few graphs, the initial results from RDA experiments, or rotating disk experiments. Here we see the green curve on the top left and the purple curve. These are nickel powder and a nickel disk, considered very standard when it comes to comparing new catalysts. And the orange and the black curve, if you see in the bottom part, so top left figure, but the bottom part, it's performing better than the nickel samples or the standard nickel probes. That was a very good positive result for us, but then in turn with time we see at higher voltages we are kind of going a bit less steep. So more optimization is needed on our part. So a bit of history about alkaline electrolysis. So here is the conventional way to do it, and now we combine it with AEM, so anion exchange membranes. And what we are doing is we are raising the temperature and pressure, and in turn we are reducing the capex and increasing the performance. So the temperature is around 180 degrees, and we run our electrolyzers at 35 bars. Another which is a striking feature of our technologies, we use plasma spraying for our electrodes. What advantage is the plasma has a temperature of around 2000 degrees Celsius. So the combination of the catalyst layer with the substrate, it's very strong, and it doesn't lead to delamination, which is considered a very common problem in our in, let's say, the electrolyzer industry. And the end goal of our project right now, which is running, is to have a container-sized plant where we have our electrolyzer on the right part and the control panel and everything there. So I thank you all very much for your kind attention, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Yeah. In the shipping industry at the moment, methanol dual fuel engines are becoming quite popular. I was just wondering, it seems like a lot of effort to convert the methanol that you store on board to hydrogen. What's the main benefits of supplying the combustion engine with hydrogen?
Okay, so very good question. First of all, it reminded me of another thing I wanted to talk about. So you mentioned a dual internal combustion engine, so or a motor. Instead of that, we could use a fuel cell. So the technology that we have, it doesn't matter on the end goal. So you could have a fuel cell running there, we would be providing hydrogen, and then we get our power using a fuel cell. And now coming back to your question, particularly, the engine is actually very flexible. You can also use it with heavy petroleum oil, or like the heavy oil for large tankers and all. That can be modified. That can be played with, let's say like that. But the shift towards having an plant on your ship providing hydrogen is very promising, like from the technology we are providing. The other alternative is electrolyzer, and the third one I can tell you about is ammonia. And now, like I mentioned, what are the disadvantages of ammonia, handling ammonia, and having a hydrogen bottles at your ship, you know? It's a much bigger risk compared to methanol. I'm not saying methanol is very safe, we all drink right now. That probably doesn't work like that. So it's just different needs, different demands, different technologies available. And you need to figure out what suits you the best at the end. I can't say, okay, our technology is the best. Otherwise, I would be a very well-searched man in the whole world if I said that right now. So, yeah, you're welcome.
Okay, wonderful. Mohit, thank you so much. We see a lot of really big electrolyzers being planned, the gigalyzers. Should those planning them be afraid by your invention?
Like with a little bit more of funding in the coming couple of years, this technology could prove revolutionary. Like that's what's my personal opinion.
Wow.
As a layman, I can tell you about it.
Perfect. Well, good luck disrupting the whole industry, and maybe in 10 years from now, we will have replaced the word electrolyzers by membranizers.
Okay, thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Big round of applause for Mohit.